Welcome back to Pursuing Justice. I'm Harriet Hendel. We began a series of podcasts last month where we were talking about the impact of prison on children when one or both parents are incarcerated. Amy Friedman, a writer and activist from California, was one of our guests. She created a club for high school students called POPS, Pain of the Prison System, a club which offered a safe place to share that intimate fact, having a parent behind bars. Today, 5 million kids have a parent in prison. Thanks to Amy, I will be speaking with 4 young adults who are all too familiar with the many challenges of staying connected to a mom or a dad in a correctional facility. Over the next few weeks, we will meet these very special guests, each of whom have handled their situation differently. Now we welcome KHARON Benson. It's good to have you with us today. You are active with a similar club to POPS called Echoes of Incarceration. Where is that club based and what's its mission?
Hi, so good afternoon, everybody. My name is KHARON, like you heard. Part of the Echoes of Incarceration project. We are here based in New York City. And basically, Echoes is a project that consists of young filmmakers, and we create short films and projects based on incarceration and how it impacts families. So we've done videos on visiting and why that's important, caregivers, what they go through while watching a kid that has a loved one incarcerated, and also one of my favorites that we're working on now is parenting from behind bars, showing people that it is possible to be a parent. So our mission is basically just to bring awareness.
Just to bring awareness, okay. I'm looking to compare the two clubs as I will be speaking with 2 young women from POPS in a few weeks. Can you kind of compare them? Do you know something about POPS?
So I've actually worked with POPS in the past. I've been to California and spoke at one of the schools that have the POPS program in there, and I do know that POPS, it's basically the same. They deal with young kids that's impacted by incarceration, and I know they, publish and write stories and have books. Yeah, right. So I was actually featured in one of their books a couple of years ago and told, a little piece of my story in there. So I say the difference between them is POPS is more of a, writing technique and how to, express yourself. As far as Echoes, we do more video work and just, giving young people that opportunity to tell their story through the lens.
I think that's great because POPS has published, I think must be 5 or 6 literary anthologies, I guess you would call them. And I did read something that you had written. And I love the fact that one does more writing and your club does more in the area of film. I think that's great. They're 2 very wonderful ways to express yourself and tell your story in a way. Now, tell us, if you would, about your motivation for getting involved with Echoes.
All right, so my motivation, it all started, I was part of a program. I got into a program, when I was the age of 14, and that's actually when I met my father for the first time. And the program is called the Osborne Association. They deal with, children that's also impacted by the incarceration system. And, from graduating high school at 17, I went to college and I did not know what I wanted to do with my life. And I remember the Osborne actually introduced me to my now boss / mentor, Jeremy Robbins. And I know at that moment when I was, I'm 27 now, at the age of 20, I found my passion in film and photography. And I thought, what better way to not use this skill and also bring awareness to incarceration. So it sort of helped me, it pushed me to continue to work with young people because that became one of my all-time favorites to do, especially working through the Osborne. And, like I said, give kids that opportunity to express themselves through the lens. So it's always been a passion for me since then, and it will always be a passion for the rest of my life.
Oh,
So
that's
I say
wonderful.
my father, yeah, my father sort of driven me to do this.
Great. Now, I want to just pick up on the Osborne. Isn't it Osborne Association, and aren't they almost 100 years old? I volunteered with them for a little while in Poughkeepsie, New York, and they do some great work. Can you tell us just a little bit about the Osborne Association, whatever you know?
Oh yeah, so I'm actually been a part, like I said, a part of the Asthma Association since I was 14, and they help with a whole lot of things. Like for example, I could tell what they've done for me and helped me, through my
Mm.
life with my father. So they've, helped me get to my father's prison, which was far enough state and cost money, and my grandmother could not afford that. So they used to take me to see my father every week or every other week, and
Mm.
at the same time, yeah, at the same time, we also had these workshops called RAP, where all those young people would get together and we would sit down and talk about what we're going through and express ourselves with our parents being incarcerated. And, the Osborne done so much amazing things. I went to Albany with them to, lobby in front of senators to, change bills and create bills, to make life easier for the families that's impacted by this situation. And I could just keep going on, but Osborne just does a lot, especially for young people in this situation.
That's fantastic. I don't think I realized the scope of what they do. You have a unique story to tell about your father, a story which resulted in what I think is a major accomplishment. Can you share that story with us?
Yes. So I'll just go back from the beginning, make it brief. All my life, I did not know where my father was. At one point, my mom always used to tell me and everybody else that he was in the army serving for our country. And it was until the age of 10 or 11 when I got that first letter. And my mom did not know I seen the letter, but it had my name on it. And it was basically my father telling me that he's been trying to contact me all my life, and that all the letters were either getting sent back, or they just wasn't coming in. So he explained all that in the letter. And even at that point, I still thought, my father, I still never met this guy, so I don't really care to have a relationship. So moving forward a little bit, the age of 14 is when I first met my father in prison. My uncle actually asked me and gave me the opportunity. He drove me up there for the first time. And ever since then, it's just been wonderful. My dad's changed my life. He influenced me to go to college because he graduated with his master's and bachelor's while in prison. People thought it would be impossible, but he did it. And right now, he went up for parole a few years back. I'm 27, when I was 25, because he got 25 to life when I was 3 months. He went up for parole then and got denied. And ever since then, we've been trying to fight for him to get home. They had they granted him parole at first, but because of a fault in the system, they snatched his parole date right back. So we were kind of upset about that, but my father and I and the family were still keeping our hopes up, and we're just wishing and hoping that September, which is his next upcoming parole date, that he'll be home with us soon.
Oh, that's great. Now, we haven't mentioned where your dad is doing his time. Where is that?
So my father first started, I know he was in Sing Sing Correctional Facility, and he just transferred to, what is it called? Woodbourne? Woodbourne? I don't know if I'm saying
Yes.
it right.
Yeah,
Woodbourne?
you are.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Woodbourne Correctional Facility. And yeah, ever since then, it's kind of been a little difficult for me to get up there as far as money-wise, since I'm on my own now. But my father continues to stay in contact with me. He calls me every week and keeps me updated on everything. So.
Okay, that's great. Now, do you also email him? Are you able to do that?
Oh no, I'm not able to email him at all. It's
Oh,
just
because
mostly through calls we communicate.
okay, because New York has just recently, in the last, I don't know, maybe half a year, possibly, put in kiosks for. I thought it was in every prison, and you can email back and forth. They charge 30 some cents for what they call a stamp, and it's great because in immediately the message goes right through, and you can answer in the same day. Whereas with calls, you have to wait till he calls you. You can't call him, of course. So the email is really wonderful. Anyway, what would you say are the challenges of having a dad in prison for you personally?
I would say for me personally, say growing up was just everything was challenging for me. Learning, what to do, how to be a man. Shaving, everything. I just never had that opportunity because my father got incarcerated when I was 3 months. So it was kind of hard. My mom, she dated a few guys when I was growing up, but they never like stuck around and never been like a father figure. So I'd say that was the most challenging part, just not having a father figure in my life to show me and guide me.
Right.
Before I met him at the age of 14.
Yeah.
But now I'd say the most challenge now is just not seeing him when I want to, and not being able to talk to him every day like I want to.
Right, right. Well, it's wonderful that at 14 you were able to step into the relationship and he into your life. And, at 14, that's a difficult age too, but you at least had a way to communicate. Now, I also want to go back to what I said when I asked you to tell us your unique story about your father and your, what I think is a major accomplishment. And that would be your amazing small documentary, which I think is about 17 minutes, correct me if I'm wrong, called The Visit. So I want you to tell us a little bit about that.
Oh, yeah, sorry about that. I just got so caught up in the story.
That's all right.
Yeah, a couple years ago, it was actually while we were creating it was through Echoes, we were creating our visiting film and why it's important. And we actually screened that film at the White House. But after that, I got an idea that, I think I wanted to do my own personal story. I brought it to the table to my crew. Everybody thought it was amazing. So basically the video concept that I came up with was, all my life I had all these questions about my father, who he was, what he did, why he was in prison, if he ever cared about me, et cetera, et cetera. So I took advantage of the cameras and my video crew, and I got access into his prison, which was Sing Sing Correctional Facility at the time. And we was able to get the cameras inside, and I was able to interview my father and ask him all the questions that I just wanted to ask him all my life. So that was a life-changing experience because, I got to finally talk to my dad one-on-one. I needed that push from the crew and the cameras because the visits before is just too awkward, since I just met him at the age of 14. So, I took advantage of that, finally got the answers. And, that's the video. That's the film. It's about 15 minutes long. Took us about 3 years to make because, we had a lot of faults and getting a lot of pushback to get inside the prison. So, but overall, I think it came out great.
Yeah. Now I saw the film. I really want to see it again for a second and maybe even a third time to digest exactly what you did. What for me was amazing was that you were permitted to take a film crew into the prison and film your visit. How did you get permission to do that? Because prisons always have tons and tons of what we call red tape. How did you manage that?
So actually, like I said earlier, it took us, probably almost 6 months to a year to actually get approved. We kept getting denied because I kept sending in requests, get this interview with my father. And we actually had to get the help of the Osmond Association and some other organizations, send some letters in. And then after, I think it was a good 8 months, 6 months, 8 months, they, wrote back and said, we're approved to get in. So it wasn't an easy process, but it happened. And thanks to the help of the Osmond and all the other organizations that helped.
Oh, okay. So I guess without them, you probably would never have been able to make that film.